Disneyland Paris booked for sick $150,000 wedding between an adult man and a 9-year-old girl. Thanks. Disneyland Paris workers were horrified to find a large wedding they were hosting was between a man and a 9-year-old girl, with the groom and child bride's mom arrested in what is now thought to have been a sick $150,000 social media stunt. The French amusement park had been hired early Saturday for the ceremony in front of the Sleeping Beauty castle, with no warning that the bride was just a child. Le Parisien has reported, I don't know how to fucking pronounce Parisien. Some 300 guests and a string quartet arrived around 5 a.m. before the park was open for regular tourists, with horrified employees only then seeing how young the bride was. The scared and confused little girl was wearing a wedding dress and 5-inch heels taped to her feet. Please do not put the 9-year-old in 5-inch heels. If the heels are within, 5 inches of your age, maybe don't wear them, actually. Staff called police, who arrested 4 of those involved, including the would-be groom, a 22-year-old British national, I'm sure. They also arrested the 41-year-old mother of the 9-year-old girl, both of whom had arrived in Paris from Ukraine 2 days before the sick ceremony. What the fuck is happening? Why were they in Ukraine? Police also arrested 2 Latvian nationals, a 24-year-old woman recruited to play the role of the bride's sister, and a 55-year-old recruited to act as her father. What the fuck kind of skit were they trying to do? What is this? The latter, who initiated the call to Disneyland Paris security, explained that he had been recruited to play the role of the bride's father for $13,840 and had discovered at the last minute that the bride was 9 years old. The deputy prosecutor of Millau said in a statement, I don't know how to pronounce that. French prosecutors are looking at whether the wedding was a sick stunt for social media, one that cost at least $150,000. An ad was published online earlier asking for extras, including 200 adults and 100 children between the ages of 5 and 15 to take part in a high-end wedding rehearsal. What? The obvious extras met around 4 a.m. Saturday in Paris, where a bus was waiting to take them to Disneyland, but at 6 a.m., park staff asked them to leave. We all thought we were going to attend a wedding. Everyone was stunned. No one expected it, one of the hired extras told Le Parisien. Disneyland did things very well. They canceled everything as soon as they realized the bride was a child. We were shocked to see that. Around $150,000 was spent on hiring out the amusement park and paying for extras while the groom's appearance had been altered. The investigations, including the medical examination of the minor, a Ukrainian national, shows that she had not been subjected to any violence or coercive acts, the prosecutor's office said, suggesting it was all a setup. 2 people, the fake groom and the fake bride's sister, remain in custody and have been charged with fraud and breach of trust against Disneyland Paris, which has also filed a complaint against the pair. Both were scheduled to appear in court in the town of Millau on Monday as part of the opening of a judicial investigation. Disneyland Paris said it was fully cooperating with the authorities in their investigation. $150K setup, sure. The only way I could even possibly begin to believe that this was a setup and that the groom was a British national is that if they were trying to film some sort of "this is what our country is going to become" kind of nonsense, right? They were just, we're going to see people renting out Disneyland to marry 9-year-olds, but also I don't think you needed like a real 9-year-old to take part in the fake wedding, actually. Ukrainian national, you bet it was a mail-order bride setup to gain citizenship for the mother? Maybe. I have no idea. The whole story just got weirder the more we fucking read, man. It wasn't a setup or anything like that. The guy had a criminal record. He even got his own Wikipedia page, Jacki Jhaj. Well, that doesn't sound like a British name. That doesn't sound like a British guy. Jas Khan, otherwise known as Jacki Jhaj, born October 1985, is a British convicted sex offender who has conducted a number of public stunts, mostly involving children, which have received high-profile media coverage due to their bizarre nature. In June 2025, Jhaj was the subject of controversy when he was arrested at the Disneyland Paris resort during a mock wedding to a 9-year-old girl. Can I just ask, if you're a convicted sex offender, how the fuck are you getting children and buying out $150,000 parks? Where is the money coming from? How are you allowed to do this? He was convicted in 2016 of 4 counts of sexual activity with 2 15-year-old girls, having pretended to be a film producer. Jhaj had driven near schools in Hounslow in West London, claiming to be a Hollywood film producer and offering alcohol. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison, and he is on the sex offenders register. How do you get convicted of 4 counts of sexual activity with 2 15-year-olds and then you only get 4 years in prison? How is that even humanly possible? How is he allowed in the US? I don't know if he is, but that was Disneyland Paris that we were talking about, by the way. In 2023, Jhaj managed to mock film premiere in Leicester Square involving girls who were hired to pose as fans. What? The children had been instructed to cry, far reach, and faint for Jhaj by the casting agency that had hired them. Jhaj was arrested in June 2024 after being witnessed talking to young girls in East London outside a dance school. He also filmed them and took photos without the consent of their parents. Why is he still alive? I don't understand. On August 31st, 2024, in what Jhaj described as Project Dover, he started a large fire and an explosion using gunpowder and a detonation cord in a yard on Dock Road in Silvertown, Greenwich. A fake BBC News lorry and police cars were set on fire and destroyed while Jhaj posed naked for the cameras. He had initially worn prosthetics to disguise his identity. The Evening Standard reported that Jhaj had sat at a typewriter, surrounded by hundreds of newspapers on the floor, before flicking cigarettes at a police car, a police van, and a BBC World News branded lorry, which all exploded into a huge blaze. 25 firefighters were involved in suppressing the fire. No one was injured in the incident. He's still alive because Gary Ploush was sadly an uncommon man, unfortunately. This just gets more fucking wild the more I read. How has he been allowed to do so much shit? What even is the UK as a country? In June 2025, he held a mock wedding ceremony with a 9-year-old Ukrainian girl at Disneyland Paris. Prosthetics were again used to disguise his identity. The ceremony involved 100 extras who were paid €200 after responding to an advertisement posted online that described a prestige wedding rehearsal, which required absolute confidentiality. A 55-year-old Latvian man was paid €12,000 to pretend to be the father of the bride, but told the park security, who informed the police after discovering that the bride was a child. Fucking based Latvian man! The girl had arrived in France with her mother 2 days before the incident. Both the girl and her mother are Ukrainian citizens. He was subsequently held by French authorities and charged with fraud, identity theft, and money laundering. The Parisian prosecutors said that the girl involved had not a victim of either physical or sexual violence and had not been forced to play the role of a bride, and that a stolen Latvian form of identification had been used by the organizer. The management Disneyland said that the event was immediately canceled by our teams after major irregularities were identified, and that they were cooperating fully with the authorities in their investigation and have filed a complaint with the relevant authorities. Fucking good on that park, dude. Holy shit. Nah, yeah, I don't know why that article was talking about this as like some kind of social media stunt. Because it doesn't sound like it's a social media stunt. It sounds like a narcissistic child molester really gets off on doing incredibly public stunts that he never gets fucking punished for. Do we have pictures of this fucking guy? Do we have pictures of this guy? There's a bunch of images of him. And he just like looks grody, man. He just like looks gross. Native British man, by the way. Native British man. Where's his bad teeth? He can't be British. I don't see any bad teeth. He looks like an Indian Ezra Miller. Dude's got Bert's hair from, oh god. Oh god. Why is he shirtless in the car here? Revealed how pedophile Jacki Jhaj, who masterminded bizarre explosion near London's O2, reveled in being branded a dangerous sexual predator. Bro, what the fuck is this rabbit hole? Yeah, I saw this from India today, and I was like, what the fuck is this hairstyle? What kind of, like, unironic Disney villain hairstyle is this guy fucking rocking? What the hell? And then there's this one. They always look a certain way. The dead dog hairstyle. It looks so bad. When it emerged that last weekend a convicted pedophile had organized a fake wedding to a 9-year-old at Disneyland Paris, many people were perplexed. Who would do such a thing? How is it even possible? The BBC understands it was the latest bizarre stunt by Jacki Jhaj, a British man I've been investigating for 2 years. Thank you, Noel Titteridge. But, you know, he first came to my attention after a tip-off from a teenage girl came out of the blue in 2023. She was horrified that she had come face-to-face with a pedophile who she had been hired to fawn over. She was too terrified of him to go on the record, but I tracked down a number of aspiring actors who had also been directed to scream at Jhaj while he was parading down a red carpet, and reach out to try and touch him. In all, 200 children and young women had been recruited by reputable casting agencies to play Jhaj's fans at a fake film premiere in London's Leicester Square that year. Some were as young as 6. How is he still out on the street? I don't get it. I don't understand how so frequently these people are just let go and there's like just no accountability in any way, shape, or form. Your question is, where did he get the money for this? He has kid fans. He's not even a movie star. He's just a run-of-the-mill pedophile. But like, where does he get the money to do this stuff? Towards the end of the event, someone recognized Jhaj, who had previously been found guilty of sexual activity with 2 15-year-olds in 2016 and sent to prison. The fake red carpet was one of a litany of stunts he has organized since his release, which often involve casting girls as his fans. Run-of-the-mill. Yeah, I hate that run-of-the-mill pedophile is like an actual thing in current year. You can do things are bad out there, but Jesus Christ. Non-native Brits can't do anything wrong in Britain, while real Brits will be frog-marched off for even noticing. Well, at least they're finally starting to fight back. I saw some tweets about like some foreigner punching a British guy holding a baby in like a train station or some shit, and then that guy got his ass kicked. Who's paying the bills, seriously? Oh my god. All have been organized at great expense while he was on the sex offenders register and subject to restrictions on his activities. For the mock wedding at Disneyland Paris, a 9-year-old Ukrainian girl was flown in to play his bride. The theme park can be privately rented outside of its operating hours, and actors had been booked at great cost to be there. One received £10,000. The BBC understands that Jacki Jhaj, 39, who's from West London, has now been charged by French authorities in connection with organizing the event. Over the past 2 years, I've set out to try and understand how he's been able to carry out these stunts and why there are not more stringent rules preventing them. Well, if the journalist following this guy for 2 years can't understand how he keeps doing this and getting away with it, I'm sure we're not going to find any other answers, unfortunately. Many have taken place at high-profile British landmarks, including the British Museum, the Royal Exchange in London, and the University of Oxford. They also typically involve young people being hired to act as his fans in elaborate productions. This is really fucking weird. This is really strange. And also, like, chat, hold on. If I open this image in new tab, it's hard to tell because thankfully they have blurred out the identities of all these people. But like, with a couple exception, it looks like they're almost lined up by race. Like, more people are lighter over here and more people are darker over here. What is this fucking weird police lineup pedophile thing that he's doing? The gradient. Extremely strange. Extremely strange. Videos of some of them were uploaded to a YouTube channel, which was watched more than 6 million times and had 12 million subscribers. Who's the YouTube channel putting up this shit? Who is it? Why did you just say a YouTube channel? Why don't you say whomst? Many remained on YouTube for years until last September when the BBC alerted Google, which owns the platform. A video on a separate channel showed him next to one of the victims he was convicted of sexual activity with her face anonymized. It had remained on YouTube for 4 years with more than 1 million views. Holy shit. There can't be that many YouTube channels with 12 million subscribers. So like, even if they had to delete the videos of this creepy pedophile fuck, who is the channel and why were they posting it in the first place? Did they know who he was? Did they know that they were reposting his like weird pedo fetish material? Sar botted. Google told the BBC at the time that it takes user safety seriously, but offered no explanation as to how an account featuring a man with almost no profile or success had 12 million subscribers, or why the videos had not been previously removed. Yeah? Yeah? I mean, when they say an account featuring a man with almost no profile or success had almost 12 million subscribers, it could have been one of those channels that just like reposts current happenings, right? But like, typically those channels wouldn't just post some guy that wouldn't get any interaction. So how much did he pay to get put on that channel? What is the price there, as it were? Clips on social media sites appear to cast Jhaj as a successful writer and singer and are often styled as music videos. It is not clear if the weapons Jacki Jhaj holds up in a music video are real or fake. Why does he look like a woman? Like, not like a real woman, but he looks like a man trying to pass as a woman in the picture on the right. Many are highly concerning, some featuring him posing with young children and weapons. It is not clear if the guns are real or fake. If he's taking the videos in the UK, they can't be real. Others revel in his infamy. In one, he's greeted by fans apparently celebrating his release from Wormwood Scrubs prison. I wanted to know how he had organized the stunts and if he had received help. Over the past 2 years, I have spoken to videographers, production assistants, and technicians who were hired for some of the events before they discovered Jhaj's real identity. One man repeatedly appears in videos they shared with me. We have been sent images and footage of him at 3 of these stunts by people who described him as assisting the choreographer hired for dance auditions and apparently filming. When confronted by cast members, the man said Jhaj was a friend. At a different event last year, he was confronted by duped cast members who recognized Jhaj from our reports and showed him the online article. The cast members filmed him acknowledging that Jhaj is a convicted sex offender, but says he is now his friend and is now free. At this event, Jhaj was filmed posing naked in front of a mocked-up BBC News lorry in London, which had been set on fire. Jhaj had initially appeared there disguised by prosthetics before he removed them, and was identified as the man from our story. Preliminary findings from the French prosecutor also said that makeup artists had allegedly changed the organizer's facial features dramatically at the Disneyland event. He looks like Leatherface. I'm just like fucking... I don't even know what to say. This is wild. How is he allowed to do all of this shit?
We just don't know.
How Jhaj funds his stunts, which involve extraordinary costs on venue hire, cast, and props, is a mystery. One production hired a tank, while in another, a mock police car was set on fire. The booking of Disneyland Paris alone would have cost more than €130, according to the French broadcaster BMF TV. I was also told the hiring red carpet space, that is the home of movie premieres in Leicester Square, would have required tens of thousands of pounds. Jhaj was listed as a director of a business that was wound up in 2016, but there is no other obvious source of money. I also wanted to know how he'd been able to carry out these events while subject to a sexual harm prevention order. We've seen a copy of it, and it lists 10 restrictions on his activities, but does not appear to explicitly prohibit the stunts he had organized. The order restricts Jhaj from contacting his previous victims, entering public places for the use of children, and deliberately contacting any girl under the age of 16. So in the instances where he hires minors to like pretend to be his fans and like scream and reach for him and shit, does he get around this wording in the order because an agency hires them? And he's not technically contacting them, he's just walking outside and ignoring them? Like, that is some crazy rules lawyering, man. That is grotesque. However, there is no blanket ban on hosting events with children under 16 if they are supervised, as was the case with the Leicester Square stunt, where some adults attended as chaperones. Thank God they fucking blorped that out. You know, thank God for censors. I also wanted to know who, if anyone, was responsible for monitoring convicted pedophiles. Following my first report, a police officer who helped monitor Jhaj rang me asking for information on his movements. He said he was responsible for managing the whereabouts of dozens of offenders, and it was challenging work. The National Police Chiefs Council advised that the minimum safe staffing levels at which pedophiles should be monitored is 1 officer to every 50 offenders. That seems kind of high. That seems kind of high. The Metropolitan Police's average offender management ratio is 1 officer to 40 offenders, well within the benchmark. I asked other forces what their ratios were, and some never replied, but 10 out of 26 forces failed to meet this benchmark, according to Freedom of Information requests received last year. At one force, officers were responsible for monitoring 85 offenders each on average. How is it even possible? Some forces defend their resourcing, arguing that these are advisory levels only and also dependent on risk assessment of offenders. Successfully managing 50 sex offenders is impossible, according to Jonathan Taylor, a safeguarding expert and former child abuse investigator. I feel so sorry for the officers, he said. It's a poisoned chalice. One of the pedophiles will reoffend. This case also highlights concern about a lack of safeguarding in entertainment and tech companies enabling these types of offenders. Agreed. Hard agree. The BBC understands that Jhaj is currently detained in French custody. The local prosecutor there says the Ukrainian girl involved in Saturday's stunt had not been a victim of either physical or sexual violence and had not been forced to play the role of a bride. His statement also said Disneyland Paris had been deceived and that the organizer had used a fake Latvian ID to hire the venue. They mentioned in the other article that he had a fake Latvian ID, but this is the first time we've heard that people at the park were like literally lied to about the purpose of the thing. The BBC approached Disneyland Paris for comment and they did not respond. Metropolitan Police said that the 39-year-old man is wanted by them for breaching restrictions placed on his activities and is also separately being investigated for any possible fraud offenses. Imagine he's funding all of his like weird pedophile stunts by doing like loan fraud. And then the last article I brought up about this, how pedophile Jacki Jhaj, who masterminded bizarre explosion near London's O2, reveled in being branded a dangerous sexual predator. A convicted pedophile who organized a huge film set explosion near London's O2 Arena has gloried on camera about being branded a dangerous sexual predator. Sex offender Jacki Jhaj was filmed naked as a blast was triggered using gunpowder and a detonation cord, only for it to spiral out of control and send the roof of a police van 50 feet in the air in Silvertown in Newham, East London. Jhaj was previously jailed for 4 years in 2016 for having sexual activity with two 15-year-old girls after supplying his victims with alcohol and took them to parties in Hounslow, West London in his silver Range Rover. It has now emerged how the serial prankster Why would you call a convicted pedophile a serial prankster? I feel like that. I don't know why you do that. It's just a prank, bro. How the serial pedophile 38 features in a 2-hour online film uploaded in 2020 with the title Dangerous Sexual Predator, appearing to refer to a description the police made of him when convicted 4 years earlier. The footage features an often bare-chested Jhaj driving around in a 4x4 vehicle filmed on a dashboard camera, with a regular flurry of young, often female passengers joining him. Uploaded to where? How? This article's in 2024. How was this online for so long? What the fuck? In one section, a young male passenger asks, "What do you work as?" with Jhaj smirking as he replies, "Do a few things, bruv. Don't worry about..." Oh, he speaks like a fucking chav, too. Why am I not surprised? He is heard describing one female passenger as looking like a young Keira Knightley, while another schoolgirl protests she cannot get out of his vehicle because the teachers will see. Bro, how does this keep getting worse the more we read? In the latest incident involving Jhaj from Feltham in West London, he was filming a scene entirely naked for a production dubbed Project Dover, which involved a van with the BBC World branding being set alight. Jhaj was sitting at a typewriter surrounded by hundreds of newspapers on the floor before he flicked a cigarette. We read that part before. Questions remain over how the convicted criminal was apparently allowed to perform his terrifying stunt last Saturday so publicly. When abusing his two 15-year-old victims, Jhaj had pretended he was 21 and a top Hollywood producer before assaulting them. In what fucking world does this man look 21? And also, in what fucking world is a top Hollywood producer only 21 years old? Like, and he has continued to be involved in a series of tasteless stunts since his release from jail, including staging a fake funeral. Jhaj recruited up to 200 children and young women to play adoring fans of his, while he hosted a fake movie premiere in Leicester Square in London. He looks like he's gonna cry. Maybe piss his pants. God, I fucking want wood chippers. He was arrested following the phony movie premiere on suspicion of breaching a sexual harm prevention order and was released on bail. I'm upset because I read the text in the blue box before continuing reading the article. And that blue box makes me very, very angry. The blue box says, Read more exclusive. Police won't launch a probe into pedophile who blew up a BBC lorry in naked stunt near London's O2. Yeah, I bet fucking London police are too busy arresting people for mean words online. God forbid. Saw some British dude online says maybe there's too many foreigners in my country. I gotta arrest that guy. Let this pedophile keep running around, do whatever the fuck he wants. Holy shit. There was nobody present at Jhaj's family home last night, but neighbors said they had seen him recently coming and going late at night and wearing a medical face mask. One told the Mail, I last saw Jackie here a couple of months ago. He always seems sheepish when I see him. Probably as everyone on the road knows what he was convicted of. I don't really speak to his parents. They keep themselves to themselves, and they're older, and to be honest, it's likely they haven't even heard about what happened with Jackie at the weekend. Jhaj, whose real name is Jaskar Jhaj, is said to have offered significant cash incentives for people to work on his films. He is said to have offered workers £5,000 instead of their usual £750 fee for help on the explosion stunt, paid £10,000 in advance to undertakers involved in the fake funeral, and is paying privately for a KC to represent him in court. I don't know what a KC is. Jaskar Jhaj, a truly very British name. I mean, it's more British than Mohammed, right? That's like one of your most popular baby names there now. What the fuck are these names? The AI is conking out again. The KC is the King's Counsel. Thank you! Thank you, King's Counsel, a lawyer. Thank you. I had no idea what that was. He is understood to have previous involvement in a real estate firm, although records suggest his tenure in the business was extremely brief and some time ago. Look, chat. He's got soft little kittens on his shirt. He can't be a danger. We have to let him out of jail so he can keep being the precious, loving kitten human that he is. Jhaj is also recorded as being the director of a small IT firm which was dissolved in 2016 around the time he was convicted. Was that IT firm even real? Was it even real? How many shell companies are there? Who owns this man? He boasts nearly 1 million followers on the Instagram account of his pseudonym, Jalaya. There's no way. There's no fucking way. The profile has not been updated since January, with his last post containing screenshots suggesting he had breached Instagram's community guidelines. Combined with the caption, the public domain is no place for Jalaya, goodbye. I kind of hate how, like, journalists aren't very good at archiving things. Because, like, I feel like there would be some stuff on his Instagram that you might want to archive for your articles, for public interest, you know, for possible future lawsuits. Other posts contain clips of his music videos featuring his police mugshot and footage from MPs inside the House of Commons chamber. Jhaj, who poses as a film producer, faces trial at Isleworth Crown Court on August 4th, 2025, for breaching notification requirements and a sexual harm prevention order. Hey, that's next month. How the fuck, with a pending court date, was he able to do all of this shit? Hopefully, when he gets to that court date, they just fucking lock him up for life, man. The 38-year-old was arrested in June on suspicion of breaching a sexual harm prevention order after he was accused of attending a casting session with children where he videoed and photographed them. He was pictured with a large group of children gathered around him and a £3.2 million Bugatti, is it pronounced Chiron, outside dance school The Hub Studios in East London, where he is said to have got them to cheer for him as he gave them golden envelopes and even a necklace. Well, you know, you guys in London already got used to the part and parcel of daily terror attacks, so what's a little bit of pedophilia on the side? You know, maybe you just get blown up in the afternoon and you never have to think about it again. That's just a normal occurrence of living in a large city. What's wrong with you to complain about something like that? Where's he getting all this money? That's what I want to know, man. Like, what the hell? What is happening, man? Mail Online revealed in April how he also used an internationally renowned casting platform Backstage to hire child actors in order to stage an elaborate £10,000 fake funeral at the London Oratory. That is a large fucking fire from his explosion, man. That's crazy. A photo posted on Reddit shows a naked Jhaj casually walking nearby as firefighters battle the searing flames while black smoke billows into the sky. This is like a level of narcissism that I genuinely cannot understand. Like, you're spending so much fucking money on this, The sick hoax a month earlier sparked international media attention when it emerged that the presiding priest had dramatically stopped the service upon realizing that it was being filmed, and that the mourners were paid actors and the coffin was empty. Jhaj paid for a horse-drawn hearse to carry the empty coffin. He was also filmed on October 17th last year with up to 200 children and a young woman playing his and young women playing his fans during a fake movie premiere at Leicester Square in London. He was spotted outside the Odeon Lux Cinema, where a red carpet was set up with barricades. Jhaj could be seen repeatedly parading up and down in different outfits and then greeting some of the extras in videos and photographs seen by the BBC. Casting agencies have said actors were kept safe and children had chaperones. The Metropolitan Police said yesterday it would not be investigating Saturday night's explosion further, but would carry out an internal review to improve how it shares public information about such incidents after complaints from neighbors over not being warned. Brother, how the fuck do you get an explosion this large and a massive fucking fire that caused multiple fire departments to come out, and the police are just like, we don't need to investigate that pedophile. He just does that. Literally part and parcel, man. Where's the fucking money, Jackie? Like, Jesus Christ, that is insanity to me. What is England? Scotland Yard said in a statement, the Met was made aware of the pre-planned filming, including the use of explosives, prior to the event taking place on the evening of Saturday, the 31st of August. Yeah, they were aware, but did they know that it was just fucking done up by some pedophile schmuck and not by an actual filming company with safety standards? England is Dimmaland at this point. Jesus fuck, dude. It appears this information was not disseminated as widely as it should have been, and we're looking at the systems currently in place to establish why this was the case in this instant. The force told Mail Online there was no investigation into the event itself. Newham Council has now said, we were not given prior notice, nor do we have any record of permission having been sought for filming on the 31st of August. Hold on. Hold the fucking phone. Scotland Yard said the Met was made aware of the pre-planned filming to the event taking place in the evening. We were not given prior notice, nor do we have any record of permission having been sought for filming on August 31st. But there's no need for an investigation, by the way. Why would we investigate a pedophile that started a large explosion and fire? There's no need for that. That's perfectly normal in London. We are liaising closely with the London Fire Brigade and have approached the film agency involved. The filming was first due to take place on August 24th with Jhaj wearing a grotesque evil villain mask. But the special effects and film crew pulled out when Jhaj removed his prosthetic mask, and one of the cast recognized who he was. He had been using the name Toby until that point. Jhaj is said to have offered cash incentives for people to continue, including engineers who he offered £5,000 instead of their usual £750 fee. A source exclusively told Mail Online he has apparently got form in terms of setting up fictitious films and things like that, hiding the agenda and his identity from the legitimate and professional businesses and individuals that get booked via a separate production company to carry out the film work. But like, where's the money, man? Where's he getting the money for all of this shit? Where is he getting the money for all of this shit? And he can't be the only one doing this, right? Like, I'm not gonna call the guy a retard, because obviously he's successfully manipulative, unfortunately. But if you're going out to all of these production companies and you're obscuring who you really are, clearly this can't be a one-man operation, right? Like, there's gotta be somebody else helping him here. Now, we think this one was a giant FU to the BBC, the police, and the newspapers for outing him for the offenses that he was committed or charged with. I mean, yeah, obviously, when a narcissist is outed for doing terrible things and they feel like they couldn't get away with it because you outed them, you've shown a light on their dark, despicable behavior, they're going to lash out and they're going to hate you and they're going to try and paint you as the bad guy. Man, I've seen that before firsthand. It is understood Jhaj drafted in a different team of special effects technicians from Eastern Europe for the reshoot on Saturday night, with the set being rigged with high explosives. But some did not initially fire, with a lorry cab exploding 2 or 3 minutes after the initial blast and delaying access to the contracted firefighters from tackling the blaze earlier. One source described it as a complete disaster and said, so that could have been very, very nasty had the fire crew been allowed to get in any closer. So all in all, it was, pardon my French, a bit of a shit show. One video posted on Reddit shows a naked Jhaj casually walking nearby as firefighters battle the searing flames while black smoke billows into the sky. And this is kind of like poignant, I think. I don't think it's the actual imagery that he was going for, but when you have like a convicted pedophile parading around naked while firefighters try to put out the fire that he created, it's kind of like, it makes me think of just society in general. We live in a society. But like, normal people try to put out the fires that these deranged freaks cause, and the deranged freaks just get to parade around and don't actually face any real repercussions for it. You know? It's just fucking unfortunate. The BBC said there is no BBC News involvement in the events of this evening in the Docklands. Residents living close to Saturday night's blast were left furious as they likened the explosion just across from the Thames to a bomb going off and an earthquake. The blaze sparked mass confusion as the Royal Borough of Greenwich Council had warned residents that there would be a loud explosion during filming on the previous Saturday, August 24th. Boat engineers working on the River Thames when the explosion happened said it sounded like a massive bomb going off. He is gross looking. He is grotesque. What the fuck is even that? Man. Something ain't right about that woman in that romper. Something ain't right. I don't know what this picture is, just random people. Previously revealed to be behind a fake funeral. Oh, is this a funeral? I guess they're wearing all black. Michael Weston, 56, told Mail Online, it was incredibly loud. I thought it was going to burst my eardrums. Apparently, a load of gas canisters exploded. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. It sounded like a bomb going off. Isn't that kind of crazy? Where like, you know how Europeans make fun of Americans, like, oh haha, you know, if fireworks go off or someone pops a can too loud, you guys might think it's gunfire, right? Because there's just too many guns in the US. Imagine living in the UK and you hear a loud like pop and your immediate thought goes to bomb because you're just so used to bombings in your country at this point. That's crazy to me. That's fucking crazy. A London Fire Brigade spokesperson said the first of 4 engines from the brigade responded after control officers received multiple calls about a fire in the Silvertown area on Saturday. Firefighters attended and were able to safely extinguish the fire. The brigade said it received about 100 calls regarding the blaze and received assistance from other fire rescue services due to the volume of alerts. Man. A daily reminder that Sweden has regular grenade attacks. How come Sweden gets grenades? What do you expect from a country that still has a king? I don't know, man. Maybe not letting pedophiles go crazy and do whatever the fuck they want? I don't know. That just seems like this guy shouldn't have been given only 4 years. Seems like he's hard-pressed to continue to be around children in creepy manners. Maybe fucking lock him up and throw away the key. Maybe just get him fucking out of here, honestly.